So if you've been following the channel, you might recognize this computer right over here. About a couple of weeks ago, I bought this for $500, and I kid you not, I paid $500 to bond somebody out of jail. Yeah, I did. And I'll definitely put a link to that video so you guys can actually see the messages and me picking it up and all that good stuff. But if you look at it, she's kind of pathetic, and she's even in more worse shape than a couple of weeks ago. And here's why. Guys, I've pillaged the heck out of this. And initially I wanted to do a build and just kind of focus on it and showing it off and clean it up real nice. But the way the market is and opportunity, it knocks, and I opened up the door. The graphics card, we already sold it, and I've already made back what I've paid into this $500 build, plus some profit on it. The CPU, we've already sold that off and made some good profit. And what we're left is this. And well, it's decent, but I got some plans. So now when I bought this, I paid $500. It came with the i7 9700K, a 2080 Super, 16 gigs of RAM, 256 M.2 NVMe drive, and a 1 terabyte hard disk drive. And it has this wonky cooler, which it's okay. It gets the job done, but it's there. The motherboard on it is weird in itself. I mean, it does have that whole Wi-Fi, which that's nice, but it's missing the antennas, and I don't like that. It doesn't even have the USB 3.0 connector, which that's kind of weird. And it says it's an Asus Strix board, but honestly, this motherboard is not even worthy of that name. And we're going to do a separate video on that. And then the seller, it looks like he probably took this out and swapped this, because if you look, we're missing the rear I/O. And then also, we're kind of, I guess he upgraded to 140 millimeter fans and made his own brackets, and you know, took these twist ties that he got from his sandwich, and yeah, he did that. So it doesn't even have the right fans. And also this right over here doesn't work, which that's not good. But the cool thing about this case is that this is the Snowblind, iBuyPower Snowblind, and it actually has a front panel over here, which you plug in through the HDMI, and you can put it through the HDMI in the back of your computer, and you can actually put your own images, the whole analysis thing of your whole temperatures and your frames per seconds and all that family stuff, you know, pictures of your dog, whatever you want to put up there. But yeah, it does have those cool features on it. And as far as the power supply, I don't know. I haven't taken it apart, so we'll figure that out later. And also in this build, it came with two 1080p monitors, mouse, and a keyboard. So it was a pretty decent deal what I got for $500. So now that we're in the back of this, as you can see, cable management is just non-existent. More of those sandwich twist ties. Yep, that's nice. And yeah, blue cables that don't match the aesthetic. Don't know where that goes. Don't know what that does. The hard drive is just kind of hanging out there. There's a metal bracket down over there. So yeah, there's a lot of suspicious activities going back there. And yeah, I'm not a huge fan of it, but it's okay. We're gonna fix it. So this is what we're gonna do. I went ahead and I got all these prices and most of these parts from the old eBay. Some good deals, sometimes not. This is an i7 6700K, released back in 2015. And even though it's a 2015 CPU, the Ryzen 5 2600, which is a 2018 CPU, is only 2% faster. So it kind of gives you an idea of how long that thing has held the test of time. So now moving on to our graphics card. A GeForce GTX 980. Yes, I know it's not a RTX or anything like that, but this is still a great 1080p graphics card with 4 gigs of DDR5 memory. These things are going on eBay for $200. Next, our fans. Now, the fans that we have in there are junk. I love these fans. I've actually did a review. I'll post a link to it. These GIM RGB fans, they're in white. They have their own separate controller. Great airflow, SATA powered, and you could do RGB if you wanted to, addressable with your motherboard. Next thing we're going to do is our storage. 120 gig solid state drive, 1 terabyte hard disk drive. And then we went ahead and picked up the CPU cooler. It's the Corsair 120, which is fine for the i7 6700K. So let's go ahead, let's start building, and let's see if we could give this little iBuyPower case one last chance. kind of in the dark so you can kind of get an idea of how this case looks, and the aesthetic is pretty nice. I do got to say that. But there are some things I don't like about this case and this build. But I'll say talking about and doing the review on this case for another video, so stay tuned for that, because there's a lot of things going on with this case that you guys need to know if you ever decide to hunt one down. So let's talk about some of the changes and some of the things we ran into in this build. So the whole snowblind build is kind of nice, but it's kind of overrated with this case. As far as our build, we went ahead and I made a couple of changes in it, and I'll open it up and show you guys what we did, and if you remember. So originally this came with that Strix motherboard with the i7 9700K. First off, to tell you about it, that motherboard is, well, it shouldn't have the name Asus or Strix on it. I'm going to be doing a separate video on that motherboard showing you some of the horrible features about it, limitations, and why I don't understand why they paired that motherboard with even that CPU. So definitely stay tuned for that. The CPU cooler that came with this iBuyPower computer, garbage. I mean, I'm using this Cooler Master i71C, which is a good cooler. Might want to have something beefy for it if you're going to do some overclockings, but overall a great cooler. And that other cooler, it just kept on overheating even on idle. I mean, we were sitting at 60s on idles, and every time you did anything like that, it was nothing to jump up to 80 degrees Celsius. So yeah, if you have this iBuyPower one and you're still running it, junk that cooler, get something better, and I promise you guys, you'll probably be impressed of how much better your computer will run. Second thing I went ahead and did is it had that red memory, which is G.Skill, and it was actually pretty good memory, but the only thing I didn't like about it was the timings weren't as tight as they could be, and running this slower memory with tighter timings yielded me better performance and better stability with this system. Of course, our EVGA GTX 980, solid 1080p performer, great graphics card, and these GIMP fans, I love the way they look. They just look amazing, and they just really pop out, provide a ton of airflow, and just kind of help complement the aesthetics of this build. Now, the one thing that I will say that I don't like is this whole screen, and we're going to talk about that in the next video. But number one, I mean, this is kind of tacky, but I guess that's the best way to do it, and it just adds more wires and mess to the back of it. But overall, this build came out pretty good. So now the price total for this, let me tell you what it would cost to build it versus what I actually paid for it. So what it would cost to build it is actually almost $700. That's right, $700 for it. Primarily because the video card markup for this card is at least $200, and I've seen it go higher for $250. And ideally, we were able to get RX 570s and 580s for that, which would give it a better value proposition. But this is the best that we can get, and it's just what we got to deal with. Now, the i7 6700K along with this motherboard values for about $250. And it's still viable considering that it came out in 2015, but a Ryzen 5 2600, this performs better than it, in my opinion. And even if you go with the Ryzen 5 3600, even though that one performs better, I mean, you're talking about a 5% difference. It may have more cores, more threads, but this is a solid performer as far as that. And it kind of attributes to how well Intel CPUs just kind of tend to hold out longer. In fact, we have i7 3rd gens and 4th gens that just are still running amazing, in my opinion, on that. So $700 for this. What did it actually cost me to build this? Be honest with you, it only cost me probably $30. And the reason why I say $30 is because I spent $20 on these fans, and I think I had to pay $10 for a couple of miscellaneous cables that I didn't have. How was I able to do that? The used parts hustles. A lot of these parts came in through Facebook, eBay, and this graphics card was actually free in the fact that I got it with a broken computer, and all I needed was some thermal paste and some good loving, and yeah, we were able to get this thing running. As far as this i7 6700K, it was a trade-in from an upgrade, in which I got this as the trade-in value, and it worked out pretty good, and I was still able to make a profit off of what I did trade in. So just kind of give you an idea of, if you're going to do used parts hustles, there's definitely a lot of money to be made, and you can build an awesome computer like this. This computer is still great, has a lot of room to grow, and honestly, I would definitely pair this i7 6700K with at least a 20 series, if not a 3060 graphics card, just to kind of help you push you to that 2K performance. But not only that, but just give you more frames per second. So guys, let me know your thoughts. What do you think of this build? It's kind of crazy how the prices are, but we got to do what we got to do. Considering that I'm into this $30, I probably will have this computer sold for about $500. If not, I do have this computer sold for $500. So definitely a big win for me. I'm not going to sell it for what it's worth, primarily because I got a good deal. I want to sell it fast. And it's not fair to kind of get greedy, as hardware sits longer and the market is so volatile right now that the longer it sits, the less money that I do end up making on it. So comment down below, let me know your thoughts. Hit the like video if you like this video, subscribe if you're not, and as always, we'll see what we come up with next.